everyone. Welcome to Finding the Inner Strength podcast with myself, Cheryl, the Crack Yogi. Episode 16. Welcome. I'm a day or so late. Had a great visit with my daughter. She came down to California, spent over a week with myself and my husband, and it was such a beautiful, fill up my empty cup kind of thing. She lives up north in Northwest Territories, so it's not very often I get to see her. Last time was in September when my husband and I took a drive up to Yellowknife, brought Madeline her stuff from storage, and yeah, that was the last time we saw her. So it's now the mid-March, towards the end of March. It is the end of March actually, and it was just so needed. We absolutely love her, and I actually had tears when we dropped her off at the airport. It was just, yeah, very heartwarming. Definitely something that my husband and I needed and she needed. So it was awesome. So moving on to our subject of the day. Last week I talked about inspiration, and I know for any of you that listen to it, things that inspire me or people that inspire me, it was a super hard episode to record. I realized at that moment when I was recording it, I want to be very authentic doing it. I didn't think much on it before I recorded it. I just wanted to see what organically came into my mind when I was discussing it. And I really did struggle with it. I noticed I was exhausted, I was emotional. Um, and not that emotions is a negative thing, but things were happening that I wasn't expecting during the conversation. Also, I was at a loss for words a lot because I felt I wasn't 100% present in the conversation. And I'm really glad I did that episode because I don't want to come off as fake or rehearsed when I'm doing this podcast. This podcast, as the title says, is Finding the Inner Strength. And I know for myself that saying, Finding the Inner Strength, has been with me since back when I lived in Gibbons, Alberta, between 2010 2014. I did a yoga retreat. I went to a yoga retreat. So this was before I was even certified as a yoga instructor. It was even, yeah, it was before I was certified as a yoga instructor. And a friend of mine went on this retreat not too far out from like Stony Plain, Spruce Grove area in Alberta, Canada. And when we went in, the leader, the retreat leader, she had all these rocks when you first walked in, like tiny rocks, like not pebbles, but not big boulders. They were probably like a palm size in dimension. And the goal was to grab a rock that kind of like spoke to us. And then we took a Sharpie and we just wrote a word or a saying that kind of jumped at us at that moment. And I still have that rock. And I wrote Finding the Inner Strength. And I guess I recognized at that point I was having struggles. When I look back at it, um, because I didn't realize how lost I felt inwardly. Externally, I look strong to everybody else. And I don't mean physically, but I'm very much an engager. I love to talk to people, and I come across as extremely happy. And that's not all fake. I think that started happening probably when we did the move to the Northwest Territories, when I kind of started going within and hiding, becoming more, it's probably seemed like I was an introvert eventually. So, anyways, that rock, I wrote that down and it has stuck with me since then. And that would have been probably around the year maybe 2012. Um, I'm just trying to think back because now it's 2025. I'll be 47 in May. So 2015, this time I would have been 36. So yeah, I was around probably 32, 33 years old. And it was, I don't know, that saying just came into my head and it's stuck with me. So for my I actually started out as my yoga business being finding the inner strength quite a few years ago. And then it shifted past COVID, and I came up with yoga in small spaces because I felt that we, as individual beings, feel stuck on taking care of ourselves with, say, maybe the physical space we have to work in, and then, but also the mental space that we create. We feel so compressed with what's going on in our life that our mind is just completely full, that it's easy for us to make excuses not to take care of ourselves. And we all do this to ourselves at some point or other. And I did get to a point where even though I was instructing yoga after we moved to Yellowknife, I got certified and taught my class. I'd say the more I did it, the more confident I was within the class and more myself within the classroom. But outside the classroom, there was still a missing piece. I lost something with my self-confidence and my um, acknowledgement of that I truly do belong, and I can, like, I lost who I could be. And I talked about that, I think, way back episode 1 or 2, where I told you the journey I had with my mental health um, to now, like kind of synopsises about it, or like little points, little Coles notes. So a few years ago, within one of my trainings, went, I did a beautiful course and program with V and Tim from Spartan Mind Strength. And I started working with them during COVID, and they are absolutely fantastic instructors. And they knew that I was a little lost with uh, my confidence, my self esteem. And they worked with that in a very positive way, allowing me to come to terms and understand what I was doing to myself. And with one of the things that I did with them was something so simple. And we hear about it all the time, about routine and how it can help us become more centered and productive for our own health and well-being. And I don't mean routine where everything has to be strict, from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed. But it was the beginning of me learning how, if I implemented something small in the morning, how it basically allowed me to connect with how I was doing in that present moment and how it went throughout my day, how it helped me recognize things individually, internally, and externally. And it was so simple, and I did it for quite a while. And then I actually made adjustments to it to what worked best for me, for my lifestyle, for my personality. Because the one thing with routine, I think if you do the same thing, this is just my point of view, the same thing consistently every day, you get stuck and you become out of balance. So, and that's, and even Ayurvedically, and Ayurveda is the sister science and very old practice and literature and knowledge. And we have doshas, and we have the pair of opposites. And the thing with the pair of opposites is there's 20 things, but we put them in 10 pairs. And when we are too focused, and sometimes not realizing that we are on a routine, it can bring us at a balance with um, physical and mental. What's the word I'm looking for? But bring us at a balance physically and mentally. So with our 10 pairs, and it's one of those things that, and what I mean by those, like, is like sensations, feelings, um, things we're experiencing. And it could be if we're feeling cold or warm, if we're feeling slow or fast, do we feel stuck or smooth, um, light or dark. And we can implement these things. I won't go into all of them right now, but what happens is when we do something consistently over and over and over again. So, say if I was running every day, right? If I ran every day, I lose the connection of building muscular strength. So I'm going fast, but I'm learning. I'm not taking the slow approach and building on muscle. So that's exercise wise of looking at it. Um, but so I can compare that to before I started working with V and Tim. I did run. Yoga was huge in my life at that point because I was teaching it. I was very focused in on it. It's almost like I grabbed onto it and felt like this is the gonna fix everything in my life. I was so focused on it, and I didn't realize that I was um, losing connection with other aspects in my life. So they taught me this morning routine that, to get back to morning routine, sorry. Um, it was like I had a journal. And it was very, very simple. I would write what I would do is I would journal how I was feeling in the morning, never journaling at nighttime. So I would journal quickly in the morning, and I would say like how I was feeling, what I would pick 3 things that I wanted to achieve that day. And I would also write down my nutritional ingestive products. So I would write down that I had, say, the day before, I had coffee, I had chicken and rice or something. And then, maybe I had ice cream. Like, this is just throwing out things. And I would see, like, remembering what I had, how that connected to how I was feeling that next morning when I was writing these things down. I would then do about a 2 to 5 minute breath pranayama work, and then I would do a yoga practice. And I did this every day, recording it, and I noticed I was starting to feel more positive, more connected. I was also not turning on the TV or going on social media in the mornings because the moment I got sucked into my phone, I didn't realize how much, as a lot of us can contest to, how much we stare at a screen. And that's one of the reasons too I do my podcast verbally. I don't put out a visual of like a vlogging podcast, video podcast, because I'm already doing yoga videos. I'm already doing or I'm also doing courses online. We have TV, and then I'm on Facebook and Instagram to stay connected to family. And I felt that if I put in another um, a video recording, it was taken away from connecting to just my auditory um, responses and what I was hearing. So I would cut that out in the mornings, and then I just started, and I kept it small. I would be between 20 to half an hour, 20 minutes to half an hour. And I noticed a shift in how my days progressed and how I started noticing shifts in myself and recognizing a little bit on how or why I was feeling certain ways. And that's actually when I started putting the dots together, that where I was at that moment mentally was not healthy. And there was quite a few people up in Yellowknife that I didn't realize that my way of interacting came off differently than what I was thinking I was doing, because my hurt and my internalization of things I was projecting onto other people without even knowing I was doing it. And it was a huge eye opener into how I was starting to connect to who I actually was at that time, to who I knew I was before that, and wanting to come back to that person. So basically, that's when I started doing the morning routine. But what I noticed about myself is I was still on the ups and downs. Like when we moved to Cochrane, Alberta, I started running again. I was teaching, walking the dogs, was not doing any strength training. And I noticed within those 2 years in Cochrane that I started getting, I actually, before we even moved to Cochrane, I had a really bad shoulder. And so then we moved to Alberta, Cochrane, Alberta, got a doctor to look at it for sure. Partial tear in my supraspinatus shoulder. And then arthritis in the shoulder, but still active, hiking, walking, running, yoga. But with yoga, and that was more the prominent thing I was doing, I basically was wearing things down because I wasn't keeping a balance between my mobility practice, my breathwork practice, but my muscular practice. And I started to have a fear of damaging myself even more because I didn't know how to approach this ailment, or not ailment, but this tear, that to do it in a safe way. And I also talked myself out of not going to someone like a fitness trainer to help me with it. I did do a little bit of physiotherapy. I did go to osteopathy and massage, but I was not working my muscles. Then fast forward, and I started having those pains in the lower back, thinking I had diastasis recti. And then I had a fear of doing even a sit-up, even planks. Like I just didn't know what I could safely do for my body. So my routine, I still had a routine of yoga, breath work, but not consistent. I lost my way. So bringing it to more recently, and I had talked about a few episodes ago where the last couple of months, so this would have been again at the beginning of March, for January and February, made those 2 months a reset for my mental and physical health. And because I've learned how to internally feel, like actually take my time and know what's going on with my body, also going and getting the answers to a chronic sore back and what was going on, and just getting that information, I have learned to take that information and implement things into my physical routines and mental routines that works for me. So I'm going to talk about that. What I know about myself is January came, then February came, and then March came. And I know for myself, I love to have a visual, as in a schedule to follow. I might fall off the schedule a little bit, switch a couple of days, but I like to have it. I actually print it off, I put it on the wall. And for this month, I already discussed the things I did in the other 2 months in that other episode, my reset. But for March, I continued with about 20 to 30 minutes of yoga a day. I have my foundation training, which is between 5 to 12 minutes a day, and then I take 2 days off. I've implemented a lymphatic drainage massage every day, which is absolutely phenomenal when you can connect with your lymphatic system and understand how much it can affect you on physical pain, on your mental health, and not even just pain, but discomfort. If something's happening in your body, you could be stuck somewhere else. Again, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole right now. So I have a lymphatic drainage massage that I do daily. And then I'm also working, I've implemented running every 3 to 4 days, and I've been able to build that up. And I've talked about that before where I love to run. But with my lower back, I, I wasn't sure if I should be doing it or not. And I've been slowly progressing with it because I've also been working with muscle strength, but not, I know I can't, I should not go to the gym and push weight because it actually is not good for my back as of yet. Um, because when I tried to do that, I was in a lot of pain, not even probably 10 minutes into it. And it wasn't because I was going heavy. I really didn't have any weight on it at all. But I'm learning what my body needs and the moment. Uh, so I'm working with resistant bands and my MiloFit. So a MiloFit is a product that's about 18 to 24 inches, say 2 feet in width. It's cylinder, and it is made out of the same material that a sup board is made out of, a stand-up paddleboard. And you put water in it to add weight. You pump up your MiloFit in the same way you would pump up a sup board. And that water in there is for not just strength, but also core work because the water moves and you have to be able to stabilize to move from like doing lunges, squats, um, push-ups, presses, like shoulder presses and deadlifts. And it's amazing how something so simple works a lot. I know the resistant bands are the best choice for me with slowly building on proper technique, working through that fear of getting hurt again. And that is more with my shoulder. Um, because I had that tear before, I can do so like it's almost like I didn't even have a shoulder injury now to where my body is now. A partial tear is actually worse than a full tear because it actually kind of just has to heal on its own. There's nothing that the doctors can do for a partial tear, or they say they can't. So I just worked it slowly through the years. But now I'm able to do these movements with my resistant bands. And the resistant bands I have actually have handles. I clip them onto the hitch of my truck, and I can do so much with these bands. And so what I'm getting with that, so this March is resistant bands, MiloFit, running, lymphatic drain massage, and yoga. And yoga, what I do each day with yoga is I first connect with how I'm feeling that day, and then I proceed with what style of yoga I'm going to do from power, yin, somatics, hatha, um, and it's really working. Like it's absolutely phenomenal on how I can actually notice and read my body. And it's not surprising the majority of us don't know how to do that. And so I did make that shift for March. What can I do differently for March or progress from what I started with in January to what I did in February and now March? And for myself, my routine in the morning, um, I know after 4 weeks, I need a little bit of a shift or a change, maybe not completely, but I always change it up a bit for each month. So I know April's coming. So I'm going to change my routine a little bit or add something. So I bring balance onto what I'm doing to my physical body, but also mentally, what am I looking for and what does it need? And this month has been amazing because whatever I'm doing, I'm still inspired and motivated. I find if we get into a routine and it's the same thing day in, day like each time, eventually we fall off the wagon because we either get bored, I know I do, or there's no progression eventually, or an injury can happen because we're doing the same thing over and over and over again. And so you're losing something else because you're continuing the other thing consistently. Um, so in the mornings, I get up, I have my coffee. I love my coffee. I actually also have a back shiatsu massager for my back because the mornings I need more more days than not something to loosen my lower back while I drink my coffee. I try not to touch my phone. What I try to have is a book to read, and sometimes a puzzle on is going. I'll do about a chapter a book for the novel I'm reading. Then I set my timer for about 10-15 minutes to do a puzzle if the puzzle's out. For March, the puzzle was finished before our daughter got here mid-March, and I actually finished my last book. So guess what's happening is I'm getting sucked into social media again in the morning or the TV. And I know that if I can find something to read, I will not look at social media or turn the TV on and watch something. I also usually journal. I haven't journaled the last couple of months. I'm going to implement that again for April. And I have such a simple journaling program that I do. I don't buy a special notebook. I don't buy things with things pre-written in them because I've had some and I've had practice with other ones where they have the dates, what are we want to accomplish that day, how are we feeling, all that kind of stuff. And sometimes these pages are 1 to 2 pages and they're super long. And I just like things simple to the point because I feel like if there's too much, I just lose interest in doing it. So for April, I'll implement my journaling again just to see, because when I have a visual, write down what I'm feeling and then I can see it, like reread it, I find it's easier to connect the dots on how things are going. An example is with connecting the dots, because I've journaled for quite a while the last few years, it's helped me connect with how I'm feeling in the mornings, um, be more explorative, adventurous, kind of observing, becoming aware. And so, say yesterday, I had a really hard time getting out of bed. Like, I was so sore, like almost crippling. And after I got up and got moving, I did have a migraine also. But then I looked at the past week, having a great time with our daughter. But the last few days before she was leaving, I had carbs, which I hardly have carbs now. Like I am, have microscopic colitis. So I avoid gluten as much as possible. So I did avoid gluten when our daughter was here, but I still had carbs that, like, say, like gluten-free pasta, but it's still carbs. And then I was having more alcoholic beverages. And then we did quite a bit of driving from where we are to going to San Diego area. And so the longer that I'm sitting and not moving, the more discomfort and inflamed my arthritis gets, the more uncomfortable I am, then everything bungs up, then the lymphatic system isn't flowing very well, and then Cheryl gets a migraine with all those factors put in. And I recognized that yesterday. A year ago, I would have been completely down on myself. I would have been lost. But yesterday, I was like, oh, this sucks. Okay, I need to walk. So I walked our dog really quickly. I recognized I had a migraine coming on. Okay, what do I need to do with that? I need to drink more water. I was at a point where I knew I needed something to help. And I try not to take any anti-inflammatory medications anymore. But yesterday was a day that I just needed that Advil and then a muscle relaxant just so I could chill. I had exercises to do yesterday, but I knew my body was telling me you need to rest. And that's what I did. And by the evening, I felt almost 80% better. I just did slow, gentle movement, like more somatic movement on the floor while I watched a show. And then I eventually was able to go outside and walk my dog, like actually go for a half an hour walk. But it's over. That was a year ago. I would have been miserable, would have been really hard on myself, and would have completely shut down, and emotionally would have came out maybe onto my husband or something because I would have been so hard on myself. So I love taking the steps of switching it up each month maybe not fully, but adding in different things for my morning routine, exercise routines, meditation, breath work. I also have journaled in the past, and I'll be journaling again for April. I think it's really important to have an understanding on how you operate physically and mentally. I think it's great to have a morning routine, and I do highly encourage trying not to touch the phone or turning on the TV in the mornings. I think you'll feel a shift inside you, because I know I do the days I practice that. I'm not a perfect human being. I do have mornings where I go down that tunnel of electronics technology, but I know what works best for me. And I know going on to social media right in the morning or putting on the news or is doesn't work. And you've heard this from other people too. I like to reflect in the mornings, get connected with myself, seeing how my husband's doing, how is our dog doing, and it works for me. But I also know what works for me is every month I need to make a shift on what I'm doing physically for exercise, mentally and physically, and that keeps me motivated to move forward. I don't beat myself up if I am unable to do something. I choose things in a slow, gradual way, not like how I used to approach things when I was younger. And I think actually, if we learn to do that when we're younger, our bodies physically will benefit in the long run. So, yeah, I'm very passionate about that. I would love to run some workshops on that, actually, on routines and finding what works for us individually, and not getting stuck in doing the same thing over and over again. So I think that's a huge one to take from this. Don't do the same thing over and over again. Your body does need stress. Your body does need anxiety, because then you learn how to deal with it in a positive, healthy way. So until next time, um, send me some messages of any feedback. If you have any suggestions on something that you'd like me to talk about, that would be fantastic. And just so you all know, we are heading back to Canada, starting our road trip back to Canada next Wednesday, the beginning of April. So some timings might be a little bit off. This week, my podcast was a little off in being released because our beautiful daughter was with us, and that's absolutely okay. I know a year ago, I would have been stressed and angry at myself for this, but I'm absolutely okay with being a day or so late, and it's okay. Life still goes on. So until next week, have a fantastic day, fantastic week, fantastic month, and be kind to yourself and others, because trust me, the world needs kindness every day. Every day we need kindness, and not a forced kindness, just a genuine, heartwarming kindness. And I will be here for you again next week. Bye.